Facebook and on our platform, Discover Your Path U. This is Sharon Froshin, Chief Operating Officer, coming to you this evening to introduce to you the Chief Executive Officer and President of the Board of Directors, Margaret Doxey. Margaret, it is such a pleasure to get to be here with you and to do this, not only to get to work with you, but as most people who know us know, you're also my mentor. So it's such an excellent opportunity to get to just highlight those exceptional things about you that drew me to you. And I really appreciate you being here. Would you?
Well, thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. Would you mind just taking a moment and sharing with the viewers what it is that you do outside of the Discover Your Path U platform and how that led to you taking a part in this platform?
Oh my goodness, I think it's easy to list what I didn't do.
She's right, guys.
Uh,
Actually, we were just counting hours before we launched the site, and Margaret has over 70 years of combined experience in several different modalities. So she's not kidding. I apologize for interrupting.
no. Yeah, because like I said, sometimes it's just like it's easier to list what I don't do versus what I do. Because it can be quite extensive at times. But literally, I have been studying personal development since I was a child. My mom was really big into personal development, and she really pushed that onto us children. So I literally started learning about things. I mean, Deepak Chopra was like a table discussion. It was not, it was. I thought Deepak Chopra everybody talked about. Well, surprisingly, no, not everybody does. But learned all kinds of things. My mom is the reason I got, well, actually, my little brother's the reason I got interested in hypnosis. I was like 8 years old, and I was done being bullied by him. And I finally decided my mom had this book called The Silva Mind Method, and I was going to learn how to use hypnosis and finally learn to control my brother. But that didn't actually happen. But my mom, bless her soul, gave me the book and really encouraged me to read it and work with it instead of discouraging me and saying, oh, you're too young, you can't comprehend it. She's like, sure, honey, go for it. Go for it. But yeah, I studied hypnosis and meditation, uh, tarot, EFT. I'm a Reiki master. I mean, I just have a really extensive personal development that I've found it is so extensive at times, but it is so helpful in every aspect of the life that I work. It worked when I was director of communications. It worked when I was a corrections officer. I mean, I brought these skills into these places where people are like, well, what are you doing? But when you see it and you watch it transforming people's lives, it's incredible. To me, it's like, why would you not want to know these things?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's actually one of the jokes that people have for Margaret and I is that I'm a felon and she used to be a corrections officer. So it's quite the interesting pair. Margaret, you're like me in that pain is what drove you to change and towards that intensive bout of self-development that resulted in the woman that you are today. If you don't mind, would you share with the viewers a little bit about your history and what drove you to life coaching and your ideal client as a result of that experience?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's been an evolution in expanding who I am. I mean, the first bouts that I really started going through as experiencing trauma were from when I was in kindergarten and I was sexually abused by a kindergarten aide. Didn't realize what was happening and was just kind of told to keep it a secret. And, that made me special. And then it just seemed like all those things, I never felt like I was safe to turn to an adult because this was an adult who did it to me. So then I kind of kept a lot of things to myself and went through a lot of trauma even as a teenager. I experienced my brother being killed. A couple months later, my best friend had killed herself. And then unfortunately, a few months after that, I was hanging out with some friends and we were at a party and another one of my friends, she literally took a gun and shot herself in the head in front of us. So it was so many of these different things that just kept transforming. And it wasn't so much that I wanted to stop my pain. I wanted to stop other people's pain. So then I really went on to this extensive learning. I ended up in a marriage that I won't say that I'm sorry I ever experienced because it taught me so much. And I ended up with so many beautiful children. I have 4 amazing children. And so those are the best parts of what I took from it and the experiences that taught me even more to give to others. That expanded me even greater. because it was a marriage that was filled with domestic violence. It was filled with drugs and alcohol. It was just, um, it was a bad scene. Let's just put it that way. And just being able to, I was so controlled that the only thing I could control was what I was learning and reading. So that was even more I took on board to, what can I do to stop others' pain? Because even though I was being hurt, I was being bullied, and I was being held a prisoner. All I kept thinking was, hurt people hurt people. So how do I stop this hurting so he'll stop hurting us? And I never really looked at it as, what is it for me? But how do I stop that for him? And it just continued on throughout my life. And that's how I always look at it. People who are hurting, they just are lashing out because they haven't realized how they can work themselves into a position where they don't have to hurt anymore. And that there are ways, there's techniques, there's all kinds of things that we can do to help. And sometimes it's as simple as a question.
Yes.
Sometimes it's as simple as just listening.
Yes, very much so. People are not listened to in today's world. And when they're given that safe space in which they can not only be themselves, but be honored for being themselves, it's magical what happens, is it not?
Yes. Biggest thing I try to teach people, especially if I get involved in working with them a lot of times, one of the biggest things I teach them too is to be quiet.
Yes.
Be quiet. Just listen. Listen to who's talking to you. Listen to the people who are lashing out. What are they lashing out about? And even currently, as I'm going through a very difficult situation, my dad is in the hospital. He had gone in for surgery, had a lot of complications. He ended up crashing. They brought him back to life, thankfully. But he has been in the ICU unit for a little over 3 months now, and it has been so touch and go. And I've had an experience with somebody who's there who has lashed out at me a couple of times, somebody who's close to our family. And instead of being angry with her, I just keep thinking to myself how scared she must be.
Yes.
How hurt she is. And everything that she's going through right now, she's just giving it to me because of this fear. It is absolute fear that's running through her. So it would have been easy. You know, I could have stomped my feet and been like, no, you don't get to do that because I'm the daughter and it's about me. And, you know, and I just had to stop and say, you know, I had to check my ego for just a moment. I'm not going to lie, because there was a part of me that was just like, I'm afraid too.
Mm-hmm.
But I really had to look at it and say, this person's lashing out of fear. But I had to stop and just be quiet and really listen to what she's saying, not just the words, but what's the emotion behind the words. And then it took that moment where you just had to be quiet.
Yes. So when Misty and I approached you about Discover Your Path You, we came to you and we told you what we had been working on in the background. What were your first thoughts? What was your why, and why have you stayed?
Well, my first thoughts were, it was amazing that you guys were able to take all the things that we have always talked about.
Yep.
Things that we would go round and round about and saying, this needs to be out there. Why isn't there something like this? And, you know, these endless hours of conversations that we have gone back and forth with. And you guys are like scooping all that information together and going, hey, so we have this idea. What do you guys think? Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And my why is as well, it comes back to why not? This is that need that everybody has.
Yes.
We've come out on this journey and we all started here and we floundered and we didn't know where to focus, and we're working so hard. And we watch it every day with people working so hard and they don't know which way they're going, and they're losing faith and traction because they're like, I've been putting so much time and effort and nothing's happening. I can't get a client. I'm not getting paid for this. I just need to keep giving my stuff away and hoping one day that somebody's going to grab it. And we're like, we feel you. Oh my gosh, we feel you. And we have that solution now.
Yeah.
And the solution didn't come because of just one person. It was a collaborative of everybody that's making this happen. Everybody working so amazingly together, taking their skills and their talents and their love and compassion. That's why this is coming about. This isn't built off of just about ego or money This is so built off of love and compassion.
Yes.
It just, to me, it just hums. And I hope people really feel that from us, that this is really love built. This is just something that we dreamed and loved so much. And we still love it so much. And it just seems like it gets better and better.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree. So what I would like to discuss with you, as you are the leader and at the helm of the DIPU organization, and by extrapolation, also the DIPU platform, I just wanted to take a few moments with you as a leader and discuss leadership with you so that our viewers and those that might be interested in coming on board the DIPU platform get an idea of what your philosophy is with leadership, how you lead, and why you value what you value. And before I have you answer that, I just want to let you know out there in Facebook land and beyond that Mag's style of leadership is as follows. She, without you knowing that it is going on, sizes you up, identifies your strengths, comes up with a great idea to highlight your strengths, presents said idea to you in such a way so as to make you think it is your idea, supports you through creating it and implementing it, and then when all of this is done, refuses to take credit. That is the kind of leader that Margaret is, that I have experienced over and over and over again. And I just want to know, how is it that you arrived at this style of leadership where you can, with an altruistic heart, almost act as a puppet master in getting people to strive for their highest and greatest good?
I call it leading from behind. I'm like, to me, it's like that whisper in your ear. It's just, you're not sure where it comes from, but it's like, I'm seeing it. I'm the outsider. I'm looking at you. So I'll use you as my example. You know, I sat in on so many different things that you were involved in. And I try to do it in a way that people don't even really realize that I'm there. I'm kind of quiet. I sometimes get overlooked, but that I say that in a good way, because I'm not, that's something I've really strived to do a lot, because it really helps me from my point of view. I like to really observe people and I listen to people. Again, that's my key thing. I'm always telling people to listen. And that's what I do. I listen to you, but I listen to you, not just your words. I listen to your body. I watch you when you get excited about something. I watch your body language change. Everything about you starts to move. And I know sometimes you don't know what you need to know. So I can tell you, hey, I have this great idea, so I wanted to bring it to you. And just kind of throw it around and just like we're brainstorming. But then I just kind of like, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. And once you just keep running with it. And so when you come up with these ideas, I'll be like, that's a great idea, but have you thought of?
Yeah.
And just give you that one little more nougat to kind of take you in a different direction. To me, it's just, I'm guiding. That's what my job is to guide you. You have all those powers. It's just for me to say to you, you have them. And my job is, I want you to be highlighted. That's the most exciting part for me. To me, it's like if you celebrate Christmas or birthdays and you give a gift. To me, I love seeing that look on somebody's face when they get that amazing gift that they've been wanting or desiring. And it's the same thing even with leadership. It's just pushing people in the right direction. My ideal is to be a leader that's not really needed. Like, that's what I think is so amazing about the platform we have now. With the Zen 10, we are an amazing group of people, but the reason it works is because we all have so much trust for each other.
Yes.
We have no reason not to trust. So it works. So I'm not nagging at each one of you with your committees and your conversations, and I'm not pecking at each one of you. Well, what did you talk about this week? You know what? What I need to know comes to me. And when I sit back and I just let things flow, because you know what? We're going to make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. And some of the most amazing results come out of it. And what I love is when we make a mistake, we hold on to that in a good way. We're like, hold that, because that actually has a creative spin. We're going to use that someplace else. That idea is that mistake is not good for here, but I know where we can plug that in later. So to me, we're just making a mistake for this moment, but it's not really a mistake. We're just going to recycle into something that works better. So I guess to me, I just have a bigger, broader perspective of how we do it. If we stall people and we just try to pigeonhole them and we don't allow them to expand, we miss out on so many amazing opportunities. And if we just just guide, just gently guide somebody, because I always, like, to me, I look at all the amazing things that you've accomplished just by a couple whispers in the ear. Just a couple whispers in the ear. Point you occasionally. Meet, like, hey, you should meet so and so. They're really kind of cool. And kind of collaborate you guys together, kind of like with you and Sammy D. It was just like, met Sammy D at a Saturday social one day. She started talking about the things she did, and I was like, oh, you should go check Sharon out over at Nourish. And then just backed out.
Yep, and that was fateful. That was fateful. I was awesome meeting Sammy D.
Right.
So I love this style of leadership that you have, where you talk about leading from behind. And one of the things that I admire most about you as a leader is that you won't prescribe something for someone else to do that you're not willing to do yourself. So as we're getting ready to launch not only the leadership portion of the DipU platform in a few months, but also the self-help portion of the DipU platform, Discover Yourself, would you mind sharing with the viewers how you, much like Karen Armstrong, used life coaching and other self-help tools to get yourself out of a really, really low place?
Oh, sometimes that was the only thing that kept me floating, was just to be able to look at these things. Like I said, probably the most recent was when I was going through, and it's not even that recent at this point. It's been over 20 years, but going through my marriage was the toughest, because that's what I really felt like I was trapped in. And that's really what's pushed me more towards the life coaching aspect of things. And I've been life coaching for, oh my gosh, many years now. But that was one of those that really just, I held on to that because of the tools and the trainings that it gave me. Just being able to work myself and understand more of the position that what's happening isn't to me so much as how I'm reflecting on it, and saying it. Once I started to put a distance in it and make some understandings of where he was at, it really helped me, because by taking the CBT, excuse me, although I probably should have used some CBD at times too, it would have helped. But it's one of those, it was just being able to reframe my thinking and even way possibly he was looking at it. And I had to do all that work for myself. Nobody could do it for me. Going through all those struggles. And until I felt strong enough, I knew I had the tools, I knew I had the strategies. But until I actually knew how to implement those tools for myself, it wasn't going to work. And then once I started trying them on, I'll say, and I started to see results. And then I realized, oh my gosh, there's really something to this. And I didn't have a coach. Life coaching really wasn't a thing back then. And so I was just reaching out and striving for anybody in books. And then I started running across some amazing people in books and reading all their works and really starting to say, okay, let me try this strategy and that strategy. And oh my gosh, what I would have killed to have paid anything to have a life coach that could have just compressed this down for me and just say, yeah, we can definitely help you in this situation. And it would have made my reach better, faster, and stronger.
Yes, absolutely. And to that end, when you and I began collaborating back and forth on the outreach portion of the DipU platform, which is that portion of the platform that will reach out to homeless shelters and to battered women's shelters and to drug treatment programs, trying to identify at-risk clients who could benefit from life coaching and other forms of compassionate care professionalism. What was it in your heart that drives you to come up with an idea like that? For me, it's that I've been there before and I want to help those behind me. But I'd love to hear in your own words for the viewers why that kind of idea, that kind of altruism is so important to you.
You know, it's just, for me, I've been that person. I've experienced a lot of death in my life. I've experienced the results of drug and alcohol. I've been a domestic violence survivor. I've been through so many different things in my life. And so I look at this and I'm like, if I can help just one more person. And it's always that, it might just be something small. You don't know how much that one small thing can change somebody's life. It's one meal. It's, that $10 that maybe you could spare that changed somebody's life for the greater. It's always that, what's one more small thing that I can do? And to me, I never look at these things as something big. I know some people say to me a lot of times, they're like, oh my gosh, you just give and give and give and give. But to me, there's such small acts.
Yes.
but it can have such a great impact, and some days, like, I swear I'll put myself in the poorhouse because I hate driving past anybody that is homeless and not at least giving them something. And it might be just $2 in my pocket. It might be I'm buying them a burger. But with that, I really want to spend that time and talk to them and remind them that they're a human being. When we go to the women's shelters and we donate things to the women's shelters, going and talking to them. At Halloween, having my kids donate candy to the women's shelter because the kids don't go out trick-or-treating and people don't realize that. So when you're in the women's shelter, you stay there for safety. You cannot go outside those doors just in case you're found, because that becomes dangerous for everybody else in the shelter.
Yes.
So, just going there and reminding these people that outsiders do care and they are loved and, we see you. It just bringing back the human touch. I think that's such an important factor that we're losing with technology. And,
Yes.
I love all my cyber friends and so many of you are my family now, but we're still waiting for that human connection with each other. But in our own ways, we still do things that give us that human connection somehow, some form that we've created for ourselves. But, to me, I think we're losing a lot of our humanness. We're stuck with our faces and screens and tablets, and we forget about the people who are sitting right next to us. And, you have some amazing people that are all around you if you just stop and look and humanize them again.
That is so true. So you have a tendency to practice, much like a few other members of the board, what I would call divinatory life coaching, in that you use tools such as tarot and other divinatory methods in a session for a client if that's what they want. And I remember when we first started discussing the DipU platform, how that was so important to both of us, because often across life coaching platforms, what's taught is the standard pragmatic life coaching, and there's not as much of a broad, roomy space for things that have to do with spirit. So if I were to tell you, Margaret, you can no longer access that spiritual side of yourself in life coaching, it has to just be pragmatic, what would your response be, and why is it so important to you that there be a platform where that does not happen?
Well, I'm going to answer the second part of that question first, because to me, our biggest thing is we're always telling people, be authentic. Be authentic. We want for you to show up. And that is all of you. That is for everything that you believe in. That is for everything that you stand for. That doesn't necessarily mean everybody stands for it as well, but we'll respect where you're at. But we want you showing up. Yes. I don't want a version of you showing up or a polished version that you think is what's going to be acceptable. I assure you, you are acceptable. So if I were being told that I couldn't bring my tarot, or I couldn't do EFT, or my hypnosis really didn't have any place for this, and we definitely are not going to talk about past life regression or future life progression, because then you're not wanting me.
Yeah.
You're not wanting me to be authentic. You're asking me to put aside me. You just want certain parts that fit you. It's kind of like a puzzle, so you're asking the puzzle to show up with pieces missing. So I don't subscribe to that. When people come up here, this is what I want, and this is what I hope everybody encompasses with the understanding of this platform. We want you authentically to show up. We want you to put your voice to it. So if you do any type of spiritualness that goes with your practice, whatever that might be, bring it. Absolutely bring it. Because a lot of us here are also looking to expand where we're at and have our consciousness opened to other ideas and varieties of things. And so much of what people are considering to be woo-woo is actually based in science. We actually have scientific proof for so many of these things that people are trying to tell us are woo-woo. It's like, no, we have quantum physics that go with this. And, I won't totally geek out on everybody. I'll hold that back. And if anybody knows me, you know at some point you will be subject to my geekiness.
It is fantastic.
It's just part of me. But for this
Margaret's
section,
actually brilliant.
I will hold back some of the geekiness, but that's a big part of it, is just that authenticness. And as well, I've talked about this so many times. I'm very careful about where we're using the word authentic, because it really, really needs to be when you're saying it, you really want that person showing up, good, bad, or indifferent. There's going to be qualities of people that are going to show up we're not going to be crazy about, and that we just need to learn how to work with it. But allow that person authentically to show up, as long as it is not a hate-based trait.
Agreed.
We want it. I mean, just bring it.
Yes. So in closing, Margaret, as the captain of this ship and as the one that's at the helm of this platform, I'm just hoping that you might be willing to take a moment to speak directly to our viewers and to our potential students and tell them, what is your intention for them? What is it that you hope that they experience on this platform? And what responsibilities have you taken on to ensure that that will happen?
Wow. So for the students, I'm looking at this as I really want them to realize that they finally have found a place to call home, that we're going to help you through every step of this journey. You are not without your tour guide on this journey. I think that was the most frustrating point when we were going through a lot of this, was you start these things off, but you lose traction and you lose momentum and motivation because you work so hard and you don't ever feel like you're going anywhere. And here we can lay it out so perfectly for you from the moment you get curious about wanting to learn something, and then we can teach you and take you to the next step. And you're never alone. And ask the questions. We encourage you, ask the questions.
Yes.
And we're happy. There is somebody around the clock here to answer those questions. But we just don't ever want you to feel like you're in this journey alone, because part of the human connection is connection. That means connecting on all forms, and that doesn't, you can't do a business. I know entrepreneurship, you think of yourself as a solo, but you have to have many people helping you along the journey, and we're here for that too.
We certainly do. Well, Margaret, thank you so much for joining me this evening and just allowing our viewers to get a look inside at what our leader is like, what her philosophy is, and honestly, why you were an absolutely unanimous decision by the board to be our leader, is because Margaret is an exceptional human being who has a heart for leading, but in such a way as to inspire others to be more than they could be on their own or had been on their own up until that point. So thank you for joining me. If you are out there and you are watching, the countdown is fully on. DipU launches and opens tomorrow morning, bright and early. And we are so excited to bring you this platform to show you and to share with you what we have been working on for these last 2 months. I can't wait to see you tomorrow morning when Misty does her first live about we are finally live, and we are so passionate and so excited to get to share with you this, as Megs correctly said, this labor of our hearts to provide a community like this for you. So thank you for watching. Margaret, thank you for being here and for sharing yourself with us. We look forward to tomorrow's launch. And as always, mwah, thank you. We will see you later, and woohoo! Just hours away. Bye-bye, everyone.